Greetings and welcome back to 50 Shades of Beige. Before we get started today, I'd like to say thanks for 10,000 views on the RX 6600 video short there. It's kind of ironic that the video I spent the least amount of time making is one of my top performers, but I had a great time helping all of you commenters with your builds and meeting some of you, or getting to know some of you really, and I'm glad that a few of you have decided to stick around and become part of our tiny little tech community here. Now tonight is a special video because it has something for all of my viewers, from the retro heads to the tinkerers, so hang in there as we go through our short journey today. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge proponent of right to repair and device recycling, and I absolutely hate seeing devices thrown in the trash. And recently, I've been frustrated with the poor performance of Android TV boxes and the cost of single board computers. And I found a solution that I think checks all of my boxes. Now, when we're talking about Android TV stuff, or even a multimedia PC, right? These are things that you plug into your TV to watch videos on, maybe do some light gaming, that type of thing. And I will admit that the Fire TV is cheap and you can jailbreak it. And let's face it, the NVIDIA Shield is getting a little long in the tooth. You probably don't want to buy one of those brand new. And generally speaking, I just find the specs of these devices to be lacking. I also happen to have a plethora of broken phones around the house.
You've got an old milk carton here from a month ago that's like...
Don't you touch that!
And I've decided to make it an ongoing series here on the channel where we're going to find alternative uses for older flagship phones that would otherwise be rendered obsolete. This doesn't really work for your mid to lower end phones that are older because they just don't have the specs to really keep up. But some of these flagship devices have really aged well. For instance, I have here the Galaxy S8. Now, this is Samsung's flagship Android phone from 2017. It has 4 gigs of RAM and a Snapdragon system on a chip. Now, to this day, the Snapdragon 835 system on a chip still puts most single board computers and Android TV boxes to shame. It's really common to find these old S8s and S9s with broken or burned in screens. And because of that, you can get them for as cheap as $40. The problem is, because Samsung built this phone with such a beautiful high-end AMOLED screen, and it's got what they call a waterfall display, which is that, you see how you can kind of see through the side there? So because of that curve, and because it's such a high-quality screen, they're relatively expensive to replace. I mean, to this day, you're going to spend at least $100 for a decent quality aftermarket replacement. So for a lot of people, it just makes it not worth trying to fix, right? If we do have cracked glass, that's not something we need to worry about. Because when Samsung released the S8, they also rolled out a product called DeX, which is basically a desktop launcher that runs through the display port of the phone, which also doubles as the charging port. I'm still working on a simple way to get these S8s and S9s and S10s, or really any old flagship device, to run a Linux distribution on bare metal, right? But in the meantime, here's some good uses for that old phone you probably got sitting in your kitchen drawer somewhere. All we need to do is connect our phone to a Thunderbolt to HDMI dock. Now, this happens to be a really high-end Dell dock. It's got dual Thunderbolt connections. It can push over 200 watts of power. I've got, Ethernet, 2 display port outs, an HDMI out, multiple USB-Cs, USB power delivery, the whole nine. You don't need something quite this nice. It just happened to be what I had out on the table. What you really need is, well, any Thunderbolt to HDMI dock, right? That any one will do. However, if you're gonna use the device for any extended length of time, I highly recommend finding an HDMI dock with power pass-through and USB power delivery so you can keep the phone charged. And if you're gonna do any gaming of any kind, I also recommend that you find one that has USB ports for low latency input and possibly an Ethernet port for super stable connection. So let me show you what happens when we plug the phone in here. It pops up. We swipe up. It says HDMI connected. And boom. it's going to launch DeX. Let me go ahead and get you put in the right position here. So as you can see here, like I said, this is basically a desktop launcher for Android. Now you can run just about any Android app with DeX, but some apps have been optimized and others have not, but they'll all run. So if you want to make all of your apps resizable, you'll want to make sure to turn on this DeX Labs option. If you're not too worried about it, then leave it off. Now for you Android TV guys, this is really simple. You just open up, boom, we got our stuff right here. We pick what app we want. Let's say it's YouTube. It launches. The phone already knows it's in DeX mode, so you get the full TV version of YouTube. You click what you want to watch. Oh, maybe we don't want to watch that, but you get the point. And for you gamers, you can play any game that comes on Android. You can run it without any issues, and you can even plug in your mouse and keyboard if you want to do that. And you can run with a more stable connection, like I said, if you use the Ethernet port. Now for retro stuff, ideally we would want to use RetroArch. RetroArch you can get right from F-Droid. It's really easy and straightforward. The problem is RetroArch isn't really optimized for DeX at all, and as you can see here, like I'm clicking and nothing's happening. It doesn't really work well with the DeX UI. But if you run into a problem like that, the solution is really simple. You open up your notification shade, tap Samsung DeX, and tap here to switch, and that'll put you in a regular screen mirroring mode. And now you can tap whatever it is you need to tap. Now we'll go ahead and switch back into DeX. Now let's say you're at a hotel or something. Maybe you just brought a USB-C to HDMI dongle. No problem. You don't even need a mouse. Once again, you go down here to where it says DeX, tap use your phone as a touchpad, and now we've got our mouse capabilities. We can just click on whatever we want. Since I didn't have time to really set up RetroArch and I didn't want this to turn into a RetroArch tutorial, I went ahead and downloaded SNES 9X right here. And it's real simple. You can download this right from the Play Store. You just open up your content and play what you want to play. Now here's some key things, right? The nice thing is, you see here, it shows Shikoni USB keyboard and Logitech USB PS2 optical mouse. That's important because you want to make sure that you can map your keys and everything. And because you're using this Thunderbolt dock, it's really easy for the phone to see what you got and basically run USB on the go to get you to be able to map your keys however you want to map them. In fact, you can connect just about anything over USB on the go, which would be, connecting through that same port, your charging port there. So you go recent content, Street Fighter 2, and there we go. Now this is really more for like a casual player. I know some of you gamers really are into the authentic feel. You want everything to be exact. Well, if that's the case, you better just run on a computer. This is more for like casual play. Hey, you want a machine you can plug into your TV, your kids can watch Netflix or whatever, and you can play your retro games. Everybody wins. And the most important part, we are giving these old flagship phones a new lease on life. They would otherwise be in the trash bin. Now, many of these phones will come with worn out batteries, so I recommend not leaving them plugged in unless they're in use, right? Just unplug them when you're not using them, so you don't want to put any more wear on the battery than necessary. That being said, you also don't want to necessarily keep them at 100% charge either. I don't let them run any lower than 20%, and I try not to charge them over 85%, although a lot of times you wind up at 100, let's face it, if you're watching a movie or something like that. Just a tip. And also, if you do get a phone with a cracked screen, please be careful. Please be mindful not to cut yourself on the glass. I usually put some packaging tape or something over mine just to make sure I don't nick myself. If you have any other ideas for old phones or have any questions about this one, please leave a comment below. Now, 99% of you are not subscribed, and I swore I would never do this, but please hit the subscribe button so we can stay in touch. We do retro PCs, modern PCs, mobile phones, and whatever other tech piques my interest. Anyway, that'll be all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.